Welcome back, my friends, to the D-Rate the Hate podcast. I am your host, Wilk Wilkinson, your blue-collar sage, calming outrage and helping to navigate a world divided by fog and those who would spread that fear, outrage, and grievance. Each week, I'm sharing stories from my path and using the power of conversation and collaboration with my many great guests. Together, we chart a course toward understanding, bridging divides, and fostering a community where wisdom prevails over discord. Friends, it really is about bettering the world one attitude at a time. We did not create the hate, but together we can derate the hate. The only good thing about a bad attitude is we have the ability as individuals to change it. For me, it starts with gratitude and personal accountability. I am so incredibly grateful that you have taken the time to join me for another powerful DTH episode. Please remember to subscribe and share the DTH podcast with your network of friends. If you would like to support the show, check out the Support Us page on the D-Rate the Hate website. With that, my friends, let's get to it. Friends, in this DTH episode, I am joined by my friend Eric McHugh, a dynamic web and tech entrepreneur. Eric is the president of ShopX Web3 e-commerce and co-founder and chief growth officer of Dataing, an AI-powered matchmaking platform. With a rich background that includes founding a VC-funded SaaS platform, working at Snap, and consulting for Fortune 500 companies, Eric brings a wealth of experience and insight. In our conversation, we dive into self-mastery, mindset, and the power of energy frequency and vibration. We explore how positivity and gratitude can drive success, both personally and professionally. Eric shares his thoughts on authenticity, the role of AI in modern matchmaking, and the impact of online interactions and relationships. Some of the key takeaways you'll find in this episode are the importance of self-mastery and mindset for achieving success, how positivity, gratitude, and authenticity influence relationships and business, the benefits of AI-powered matchmaking in enhancing the dating experience, and the significance of maintaining high vibration and authenticity in digital interactions. Join us, friends, for an inspiring and thought-provoking discussion on achieving growth and success through the right mindset and authentic connections. Friends, another great DTH conversation that you do not want to miss. Here we go. Eric McHugh, thank you for joining me on the D-Rate the Hate podcast, man. So good to see you.
Hey, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, when you reached out, Eric, I at first I didn't know. I mean, I'm like, why is this kind of web entrepreneur guy reaching out to me? Because I didn't know, what it was at first that you and I were, while I absolutely love having conversations with all kinds of people. I really wasn't sure what it was that you and I were going to talk about. But then as I started reading more about you and kind of diving into some of the things that you've done, Eric, I really started digging some of the things I saw in your story. So I want to dive into a few of those and just kind of see where our conversation goes. And let's start with you talk about self-mastery and things like simplicity and adaptability and a clear mind. And these things are obviously D-Rate the Hate. We're here to better mood, better the world, one attitude at a time, improving people's moods, improving people's mindsets. So let's start there, Eric. Talk to me. How is it that you came up with this self-mastery through simplicity, adaptability, clear mind? Where did that start for you?
Yeah, so that started my entrepreneurship journey. Like in terms of being an entrepreneur, like you have to adapt. When you'll try 9 things don't work. You try the 10th thing, it works for a couple of days. It stops working. You have to figure out why, and then you just got to celebrate the small wins. In terms of being calm, I would say that's one of the most powerful things you can do, because I think of everything in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So like if you're sad, if you're angry, if you're joyous, if you're calm, if you're loving, all you're saying is I'm vibrating at a certain frequency. So if you think of it like a radio station, Like if you're sad, if you tune into a specific radio station, you get that specific radio station. So if you're sad, you're broadcasting that vibration and you attract sad people. So that's why sad people attract sad, anger attracts anger, calm attracts calm, positivity attracts positivity, and love attracts love. So in terms of the calmness, honestly, it's very useful because a lot of times if you're just in go mode, if you're trying 20 different things in a day, nothing's really working out. Most people in corporate America, they say, okay, we're going to lock ourselves in this room. We're going to figure out the solution. We're going to stay here all night if we have to. That's honestly, dude, that's not the most effective way. A lot of times the best thing to do is go for a walk, think it through, come up with solutions. And on top of that, in that example, if you lock yourself in a room and you're like imagine this, like a boss is like, okay, we have this problem. We have to stay here till we fix it. People will come up with a solution to get out of that situation. And a lot of time, it's not even the best solution because you're not coming at it from a clear place. And then you're just throwing oil on the fire, dumping more resources and wasting more time when you really should have just taken a break, went home, regrouped, relaxed. Because the important thing to know is, because in being calm too, like that's when you're focused on the present moment. Like think about it like logic. If you're anxious, if you're anxious about something, you're like, oh, I'm worried about this business meeting. You're living in the future. What happens if you're living in the future? You're living in an imagination. You're making up scenarios that didn't even happen.
Didn't even happen yet. Didn't even happen yet.
But your mind thinks that they're happening. So like imagine this. If I really think I'm being chased by a tiger, my mind will produce chemicals like I'm being chased by a tiger. And that's different than the chemicals my body would produce if I'm calm. Mm-hmm. So being in that calm state just really helps you make those right decisions.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. No, and those are some phenomenal points, Eric. I want to kind of go back to that whole thing where, the idea of the boss saying, we're going to lock ourselves in this room and we're going to, and I'm also going to combine this with the thing that you're talking about, the energy, right? And how that energy, if we're putting off a certain amount of energy, that's going to be contagious, right? And one of the things that I've talked about plenty of times on this podcast is how smiles and bad moods are contagious. So when we lock ourselves in a room, I really like the point you made there about how, we're going to come up with a solution, but maybe not the best solution because we're just trying to get out of this room at this point. And then, the idea that you're being locked in there, it's kind of like torture, right? You're if you're torturing somebody to try and get information out of them, they're going to say whatever they need to say to get out of that situation. Same thing applies in situations like that, what you're talking about, right? You're all locked in a room. You don't want to be there in the first place. Everybody's emitting, maybe not everybody, but probably a good portion of those people within that room are emitting some of those negative frequencies that you're talking about. You're trying to come up with something and it just isn't the best way to make things happen. So talk to me about what is the best way. I mean, you talked about, maybe going for a walk, Eric, or how does somebody who maybe isn't in the right mindset, how do they, find that calm, find that right energy, find the way through that spot where they're not finding the most creative or the best answer? What do you say to that?
Yeah, so honestly, for each individual person, it's a different response. Like what works for me may or may not work for you. I think as a boss, and honestly, I don't think in terms of bosses. I think everyone's equal. I think everyone's just different and beautiful and individual and equal in their own specific way. And so what you want to do as a boss is you want to let people be free and they'll naturally gravitate to what they're good at. And that'll put them in the best position to succeed, thus putting you in the best position to succeed, thus putting your company in the best position to succeed, and thus ultimately putting your customers in the best position to succeed. So if you adopt a mindset of servitude, I think that goes a lot farther. So for example, if the boss is like, instead of forcing everyone to go in the room, he just kind of starts working on it. He's like, I feel like no one's forced to stay, but I'm going to work on this. More likely people are going to stay. And to answer your question about how to get into the right mindset, again, I can just answer from I'll just answer from personal experience. Cause like I said, I'm not Wilk. I'm not your listeners. I can only speak what works for me and maybe it works for them. So what really works for me is first off, going for a walk. If I can't, just break out a quick meditation, just like sitting there, because I've accepted the fact that my base layer is peace, love, and happiness. So if that's my base, how do I go into my base? All I have to do, dude, is I relax into that. And the quick hack I found that works really well to get you into the mindset is to take advantage of gratitude, because gratitude is the attitude. Gratitude is a mind state of abundance. When you're thankful, you're just like, I'm thankful I'm breathing. I'm thankful my arms work. That's not the case for everyone. So I'm thankful for all of that. That puts me in the right mindset and it attracts a lot of opportunities. And a quick hack I like to do about this, it's so simple. I have a gratitude journal. I wake up in the morning. I write 5 things I'm thankful for in the morning. That primes my day. Before I sleep, I write 5 more things I'm thankful for. It could be dumb things like I'm thankful for this water. I'm thankful for this pen. I'm thankful for my calls. I'm thankful for this laptop. It just puts me in the mindset of gratitude. That sets up my dreams too, which are nice. And during business, like even before this podcast, I wrote, I'm thankful to go on this podcast. And because I wrote it down, thoughts carry energy, words, like everything that happened in the physical world, it starts as a thought. So I wrote, I'm thankful to be on this podcast. So I'm thankful to be on this podcast. And I think it's going really well. Versus if I'm just like, oh, I have to go on this podcast. That's a completely different thing. And you would pick up on that as a host who's like even maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, like, this person doesn't want a beer. But at the same time, you pick up like, oh, this person wants a beer. And on top of that, your listeners will pick up on that, which is an important thing. Because I like going on podcasts because I think, like you said, positivity spreads. And I think if you have a positive conversation with someone on a podcast, maybe you have 5 listeners. I don't know your numbers, but one person leaves this podcast slightly better. Then that person is slightly better from this podcast. That spreads to the people in their circle, which spreads to the people in their circle, which spreads to the people in their circle, creating a nice little positivity upward spiral, despite what's being pushed in the narrative. And I think I have a good reason for why. Like, this podcast is about derate the hate, which I'm all for. I think the way I view people is like, if you think about it like the sunshine, it's like, I'm a ray of sun. That's kind of a cringy analogy, but like, I'm a ray of sunlight. You're a ray of sunlight. Person A is a ray of sunlight. So we're individual in that sense, but we all come from the same source. So in the sense, we're the same. So for me to hate on you is the same as hating on me, which I think is pretty stupid. But it's like back to the point of energy, frequency, and vibration. So if you think about it logically, when you're in a state of pride, when you're in a state of fear, when you're in a state of like hate, when you're in a state of just like shame, those are the lower natures and those vibrate below 200. And in those mind states, that's when people are most controllable. So if there's a powers that be, people at the top, if they want to control people, they would produce content at scale to keep people in that mind state, to keep them doing what they want. So for example, whatever you think about COVID, the governments, whatever parties, they pushed fear for that reason and they got the people to comply. So if you look at social media or news outlets from that lens, it's like, oh, okay, so you're pushing this. Okay, you're pushing this for this reason. Laugh out loud at you, because in the end, despite 95% of the content being negative out there, I think 95% of the people are generally good people. Mm-hmm. They're trying to do your best. Like, I could go on Twitter and be bombarded with negativity, and then I can go walk at the local grocery store, and most people there are friendly. Right. And if they're not, maybe they're having something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you make a lot of good points there, Eric, because I think of, when I think of like about a lot of the stuff that you're saying there, I think about, kind of my bubble of influence and the way that I interact with people on any given day. Right. And what you said there just right, just a second ago, what is the difference between what we're seeing online and what we're seeing in real life? Those things are very important. But when we think about our bubble of influence and the people that we interact with on any given day, we talk about, you talk about that frequency and the waves that we're putting out there. I talk about smiles and bad moods are contagious. I break it down to a lot more simpler, a lot simpler way of thinking about it than that. But it really is so important that, well, I'm going to reset a little bit. Go way back to what you're talking about, that attitude of gratitude. And it's something I've talked about so often on this podcast. And I think most well, I don't know if most, but I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate that, right? You talked about, you know, how, you know, I'm thankful for you know, the fresh water that I have to drink, or I'm thankful for, you know, the just, you know, going on this podcast and having this conversation with this Wilk guy, you know, and just getting myself upbeat for things like that. You know, the idea of being grateful, or journaling our gratitude. You know, this is something I've talked about with so many guests on the podcast and people I've talked to outside of the podcast. And I've even done episodes of the podcast called, you know, Attitude of Gratitude and Personal Accountability Challenge. And, you know, things like that, and how simple those things are and can be, but how such a simple thing can make a big impact on our everyday lives, on the things that we do and how we present ourselves to other people. You know, that action item there alone can make or break your day and how you interact with people. How, you know, how that bubble of influence, that sphere of influence around you, and how those people are going to pick up on your vibes, on your energy, on your frequency. You know, I've got a friend of mine, you know, named Neo Positivity, and he talks about on the law of attraction, LOA. You know, and I was on a podcast with him, the Law of Attraction podcast, LOA Today, a couple of years ago, I think. Probably a couple of years ago now. I don't know. Time flies, right? But that's a lot of what those guys are talking about. Is you know, how does our energy turn into things, right? You know, thoughts become things is Neo's big thing, and when we are grateful for things all day, every day, not just the big things, all the small things. My hands work, my arms work, my legs work. You know, I've got clean water to drink. I've got food to put in my belly. You know, I've got people around me that care about me. You know, those things create that right vibe, create that right energy. You know, it doesn't have to be huge. It just, you know, all those little things add up to so much better, such a much better and clearer mind, as you know, as you've talked about.
Yeah, and from a more pragmatic approach, if you're in that attitude of gratitude, that's what attracts the bigger things. But the thing is, once you're in that attitude of gratitude, you realize you're enough as you are, and then it turns out you don't care as much about the bigger things because you're already happy. And then that's what gets you more of the bigger things, which is kind of funny, but it just is what it is. Life is life.
It's a beautiful cycle. I mean, it really is. I mean, it feeds on each other, on itself, just like negativity feeds on itself. Yeah. If you present that negative and ungrateful attitude, that's going to attract as much as ugly as the gratitude's going to attract the positive.
Exactly. They're both laws of the universe, and I think of it in terms of reality transurfing, or more like quantum spirituality, where you get to select whichever timeline or select your reality that you want to jump on, and going on a positive one. Like, for example, let's say my day starts. I stub my toe. One of two things happens. Like my day's ruined. Blah blah blah. I stubbed my toe. My call is gonna suck. I don't want to run because I stubbed my toe, and then that'll just lead to more and more. Like, I stub my toe, my call doesn't go well, I go to the gym, I don't run well, and it just keeps going down the downward spiral. Or if I stub my toe, it's like, oh, I stubbed my toe? Well, maybe I was going to trip down the stairs if I didn't take this extra 30 seconds. Amazing. And then the day starts off right, then the call goes well, the gym goes well, I talk with my family, and then it puts me on a positive timeline or a positive spiral versus a negative spiral. Because both those, like, honestly, dude, it's a powerful tool. Like, mindset is pretty much everything. I think the outer world is just simply a reflection of your inner world. So whatever's happening in here, it eventually shows up out there. So if you're trying to change your outer world, which is what a lot of people try to do, it's like trying to change the reflection in the mirror. You can't change the reflection in the mirror. You just change the way you look at the mirror. You just change yourself. And that's what ultimately changes the reflection in the mirror, which I guess is kind of dangerous, because if you are really in that mindset, you're like, my life is terrible, blah, blah. I need to change this. I need to change this. I need to change this. So the thing about thought energy, it's not so much the context as what you're thinking about, but it's the content you're thinking about. So for example, if you don't want to be, let's say you don't want to be, you're scared of being poor, you're thinking about being poor, so that's what's going to happen, versus I want to make a lot of money. You're thinking about making a lot of money, so that's what's going to happen. So whatever you think about, wherever your attention goes, the energy flows. So might as well point that as at positive things, because like I said, I think everyone is happiest when they're serving other people, and you're much better at serving other people when you're in a positive mindset, when you're taking advantage of your individual gifts to manifest whatever God or the Creator blessed you with, and using those gifts to serve other people. And that creates that positivity upward spiral.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, it's been proven time and time again, those who serve are much happier than those who don't. Kind of, I want to go back a little bit to what you were saying there, Eric, and the personal accountability piece there, right? Where our thoughts go, our energy flows, and you give the example of stubbing your toe, and then it now all of a sudden, I think back to that old, I think back to a phrase that I've heard, my uncle say, it just goes to show that every time my ship comes in, I'll be standing at the train station, that kind of, and he says it as a joke, obviously, but people who, allow, like something like the stubbing their toe, or the, stubbing their toe to ruin the rest of their day. Or somebody cuts them off in traffic, somebody that doesn't know them at all. They don't know that person. It's a chance encounter that takes, a matter of seconds, but people will let that burn them up for the rest of the day. And then that mindset, where my mind is, will actually construct, it will manifest things for the rest of the day. And why somebody would allow a small, minimal amount of time to ruin the rest of their day, because their mind's working it. That's where that energy goes. That's where, and now it's going to manifest a much worse thing. And that's where that personal accountability piece that I talk about a lot, Eric, comes from. It's how am I going to make sure that this is the day, I say it at the end of every show, make each and every day the day that you want it to be, because it is up to us. It is up to each of us as an individual to make our life a better life. And we do that. That begins with our mindset. So why would we allow something, that we had no control over, like that chance encounter in traffic? Or, we stubbed our toe. It happens. It happens to everybody who's got toes. It's unfortunate, but don't let it ruin the rest of your day. Take accountability for it. Things happen. It was a very small portion of my day, and I'm not going to let a 1 second encounter or a fraction of a second encounter with a bedpost take out the rest of my day, right?
No, dude, it makes no logical sense. Like, why would you? Honestly, it's more of a just a unconscious thing where it's like they don't realize they're doing it. That's where the self accountability thing comes in. It's like, do the personal work. Like, I'm a pragmatic guy. It's like, why would I do something that harms me and harms those around me? I don't. So I realize I do, and you just quickly shift that mindset, and then it puts you back on that positivity spiral, or that better timeline, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive a little bit more into this, Eric, because there's probably people listening and they're like, okay, yeah, this stuff all sounds great, and the law of attraction and thoughts become things, and Eric and Wilk are talking about this mindset, and it's all fine and good in theory and whatever. Tell me, or more specifically, Eric, talk to the DTH listener about how this has manifested for you in your businesses, because obviously this is the kind of stuff that has played a big part in your success as an entrepreneur, and the way that you've been able to do things and accomplish things, the online e-commerce business. And and being a young entrepreneur like yourself, actually implementing things like this in your life has manifested and come to fruition in some pretty cool ways. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So, like I mentioned earlier, I think everyone has an inner purpose and the outer purpose. I think everyone's inner purpose is the same, and that's to raise our own level of consciousness. And the reason it's to raise your own level of consciousness because you can't pour from an empty cup. Plus, raising my own level of consciousness will raise those amount around me. So that's what the inner purpose is, and everyone has the same inner purpose. And I would say the outer purpose is how do your gifts manifest in the real world to add positivity and serve others and raise your own inner purpose. So to do that, it's really important to follow your own intellectual curiosity and authenticity. Because if I try to do what you do, Wilk, I can't beat you at being you. No matter how much I try, you're the number one Wilk in the world. But I'm the number one Eric in the world. So if I'm being me, I'm number one in the world. And that's how I can best serve other people. And this is how this has manifested into two different companies. First, it manifested in an experience where I was at a startup incubator, which is basically startup school, surrounded by plenty of other founders. And because of this positive attitude, because of the mindset thing, and because I'm just like, oh, everything's going to work out, which I believe everything's going to work out, I was blessed to be introduced to like 20, 30 of this like really good founders at an early age. I got lunch with them, like, what worked for you? What doesn't work for you? And I absorbed so much knowledge that way. And that was partly because of mindset. But in the real world, it manifested in two different companies. The first is ShopX. We help Web2 brands monetize in Web3. And my why behind this, I think, is very important. So overall, I would like to live a nice, peaceful life. That's one of my goals. I'm going to do it. How we do that, we'll figure out in the meantime. But I felt that was harder to do if I felt the money system was inherently corrupt, which led me to Bitcoin as a solution. And ShopX is a way for me to onboard people into the Web3 crypto space at scale. So because we're a suite of products for a Web2 brand to onboard into the space, if a brand like Nike or Fox is our biggest client, they use our products, Nike launches a Web3 product for 1 million customers. Those 1 million customers want that Web3 project because of the e-commerce incentive behind it. Those 1 million customers then purchase the NFT because like, okay, I want the shoe that comes with this NFT or whatever reason. That's a 0 to 1 moment for a lot of people. So that creates a better world, in my opinion. And the technology, so ShopX architecture has been designed in a way to be powerful. So what powerful, and the difference between power and force is a forceful relationship, which is like going back to our boss example, locking in the room. A forceful relationship isn't sustainable because one party wins and one party loses. Whereas a powerful relationship is sustainable because both parties are winning. So obviously people are going to keep doing that. So when we designed ShopX, we took into account everybody in the ecosystem and made sure everyone wins. So for example, let's say one brand mints one NFT for $100. That brand wins because they get higher customer conversions, they get higher customer loyalty, they get word of marketing. So that's great. The brand's customer wins because they get e-commerce benefit with that NFT, so they wouldn't have entered the space if they were winning, so they win. ShopX wins because whenever a brand mints NFT, we earn 5%. So ShopX is onboarding people in the ecosystem. We're making money. Fantastic. And to me, money is neutral, by the way. A lot of people think money is bad. It's like, you can make money in bad ways. You can make money in positive ways. You can produce tremendous amounts of value for the world and generate lots of money for yourself. Good on you, dude. So ShopX makes $5 in that transaction. ShopX wins. Our second product is we share our revenue with our community for helping our ecosystem grow. So half of our revenue, our community gets paid in Ethereum. So they're obviously happy. They're stoked. They're posting about ShopX. They're going on brands' pages because they're getting paid. They're like, hey, use ShopX. This makes our job a lot easier. That's getting more and more brands because they're posting more and more about us, creating groundswell. That's creating more and more money for them, creating a positivity. It creates positive energy around the brand, and it creates that up spiral for everyone involved. And the Web3 ecosystem, they win because one of the issues with Web3, it's not mass adopted because there's no real reason for Web2 brands to interact or even learn about the space. We're offering major brands reason and their customers to enter the space. So Web3 is winning as a whole. They're happy. The world is winning because more people are getting involved in crypto, and I think that fixes an incentive structure that we currently have. So yay, world. And future generations are winning because we're creating a better world for them we're creating a world of better incentives where the incentive is to create value for others versus place yourself next to the money printer. So I think it's overall good. The second company is Data Inc. And the why behind that is I think relationships and love is, I think that's the most important thing, but I think relationships are extremely important for happy humans. And I think dating apps and Instagram has skewed the whole marketplace, making it not a good place to date, making it not a good place to find love, making it not a good place to create a family and build a future for yourself. So what Dating does, it's the first ever AI-powered matchmaking service. We would create a digital profile for you based on your digital footprint and generate matches for you based on their digital footprint, putting you into position to succeed. So for example, I get my 3 matches, Ashley, Kimberly, Jane. It's like, tell me more about Jane. Oh, her Facebook says she's the youngest, you're the oldest. Our pattern recognition software says that's great. Oh, you both tag a bunch of national parks on Instagram. That's great. Oh, did you know that you both listen to this one Spotify artist? Oh, do you know this artist has a concert coming up in a month? Would you like me to suggest David Jane? That's great. We go on the date, we fall in love, we get married. And then from there, it can act as a relationship buffer. It's like, oh, you have 2 kids. You haven't been in the house in 3 months. We recommend this babysitting service. The restaurant you went on your 3rd date has half off ice cream. That's great. Oh, Jane's birthday's coming up. She just added this thing on Pinterest. You might not want to mess this up, buddy.
So okay. Now I'm interested because, I mean, not that I'm in any way interested because I'm very happily married, but so this data in it like follows people throughout the duration of their relationship and actually will help like do reminders and stuff. I guess did I hear you right when you said that? I mean, that's kind of, I mean, the algorithms, the way that it's set up to actually, I like the idea that, you guys listen to the same songs, had looked at the same, websites, whatever. I mean, how obviously you can kind of match up interests and stuff like that. That's kind of cool. But I don't know if I heard that wrong. It actually follows them throughout the duration of the relationship.
Yeah, no, it'll be able to. So imagine like you start off, you get the match suggestion. So it can act like a dating coach. It can, cause it's AI. So it gets smarter as it goes. Like, it's like, hey dude, you've been on 3 first dates. None of them would produce a second date. What are you doing? Oh, you're going to this place. Well, don't go there. Try something else. After that, so part of the revenue model for dating is we're linking with Calendly and we're going to partner with a bunch of like restaurants and whatnot, where you can book the date through the dating app. So our app is going to be free, and that's going to be our revenue model. Where if you do book a date through our dating app, that's where we get a cut. Because I mean, if you go on a real life date, I think that's valuable. And then from there, as long as you keep your social media tracked, it can keep track of your dates if you keep going on dates. And AI is getting pretty smart, so it doesn't even have to book through us. It's like, it'll know if like you post a date on Instagram, or it'll know if you post a date on Facebook. It'll know that like you posted a picture with your wife on Thursday, but it knows that this picture was on Tuesday. So it'll know that that's when you actually went on the date. So as long as you keep your data connected, it'll be able to monitor and just kind of help you through the process. But if you ever want to leave, you can just unlink your sources and delete your data. So that won't be an issue. No,
that's fascinating. I mean, so yeah, I just finished the book iGen by I think it's Jeannie Twenge, Dr. Jeannie Twenge. And I think I'm saying that right, but no, so this iGen, internet generation, Gen Z, so much of that, the social atmosphere now is online atmosphere, and more people are meeting their friends and significant others and things like that online, and now with AI doing all the things that AI is doing, I mean it's only natural that this is the natural progression of things, and so I think stuff like that is fascinating. I'm very grateful that I'm much older than that, and I do things the old fashioned way, but hey, the times they are changing, right, as they say, and things like this. While they aren't obviously going to directly affect me, well, maybe they are. I mean, I do, about half my life now is doing this, social media and an online influencer and things like that. So, and obviously I use AI for different things, but But as far as building relationships and stuff like that, if this is the way that the next generation is going, it sounds fascinating. I mean, it sounds like it sounds better than a lot of the garbage that people could be, getting themselves involved with and meeting the wrong people. And this kind of thing sounds fascinating, Eric.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, man. I do want to make the point that the dating app, all it does is put the users in the position to succeed. So unlike Tinder and those dating apps, they rely on something called churn marketing. So think about logically, if Tinder were to, and they're all owned by Match.com, so there's a monopoly, there's that whole thing going on in the background. But if Tinder were to match a happy couple, if Tinder were to have a matchy couple, that couple then leaves the app, Tinder loses a paying customer, Match shareholders aren't happy. So this is why they're incentivized to keep people on the app, so they keep them on like a Ferris wheel. So dating is completely different in the sense we put our users in the position to succeed. Like you, I personally like the old-fashioned way. I've had much better luck with women if I just approach them in person and introduce myself. But not many people do that. So,
right.
Like I said,
not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But that's where the big advantage is. But with our app, like, we want to get people on the date as soon as possible, and the back end stuff is already there. So, for example, like in our Spotify example, it suggested a Spotify date, but let's say it didn't suggest that, but it's still matched. That's still something that's happened in the background, which could come up in organic conversation. But in the end, you have to go on the date. You have to be a pleasant human to be around. There has to be actual connection. We just want to hopefully. Like, think about like Tinder or dating apps. It's all physical based. There's no authenticity. The chances of you finding a good match are not very high. But with us, it's like we want to put them in the position to succeed. And the cool thing is, the more dates you go on, the smarter it gets, the better it gets at matching you. So the longer you're on app, the more likely you are to find a good match. If that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And one thing I'm a big fan of is authenticity and whatever. I mean, that's why I'm so lucky to have the wife that I have, because we are both very authentic people, very realistic, down to earth people, and I'm eternally grateful that I did find her the old fashioned way. But yeah, this iGen, this internet generation, the fact that so many people do their social interaction online now, and to build that authentic bond in a way that you don't have to be fake and don't have to try and be somebody that you're not. And then the fact that it's built by somebody who's really working through the platform of authenticity, of genuine energy, and
it's of the base. So like, if you go back to energy, frequency, vibration, like you look at a beautiful piece of art, like the Mona Lisa, or like a nice architecture thing, they're high vibe. So books like the Bible, high vibe, like all those religious texts, high vibe, and people pick up on that, whether they know it or not. So like, that's why a fake piece of art, you're just like, where a real one, you're just like, oh, that's amazing for some reason. So that high vibration is, and a very small percentage of people get it, but that high vibration is built into those two products. And since they're both ecosystem and user based, I think that the intention is good behind both. So I think that's why they're succeeding so well.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. High vibration, high energy, simplicity, adaptability, clear mind. These are all concepts, all important things. This has been a great conversation, Eric. Where can the DTH listeners find out more about you? Find out more about these programs like ShopX and Data-ing or Data-ing and or however that, I can't remember which way was the right way to say it. Either way, good stuff. Where can people find you, Eric?
So if you want to learn more about Web3 e-commerce, the best place for that is our website, shopx.co, shopx.co. If you're interested in AI-powered matchmaking, it's dataing.io. But if you want to get to know me personally or just want to talk, I'm trying to be as helpful as possible. My personal Instagram, Eric D. McHugh, EricDMchugh. Just shoot me a DM and we can do that whole voice chat thing.
Super cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time today. It's been a great conversation. I look forward to continuing the friendship. And Yeah, we'll see you again, man.
Yeah, likewise. And dude, thank you so much. That was fun.
Friends, if there's anything in this episode that provided exceptional value to you, please make sure to hit that share button. Share it with your friends, share it far and wide. And of course, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe right from our website so you can get the D-Rate the Hate podcast sent to your email inbox every week. So this is Wilk wrapping up for the week saying get out there, be kind to one another, be grateful for everything that you've got, and remember it's up to you to make each and every day the day that you want it to be. If there is something that you would like to share with me, you can catch me on most social media platforms, or you can email me directly, wilk@wilksworld.com. With that, my friends, I am going to back on out of here, and we will catch you next week. Take care.